Hey all, Steve Cyros. See, it's Tuesday, June 6th, 2023. I am back at the Arrance Antimony Prospect. It's been a while since we've been here, and I promised a walk in on the lower adit if it is accessible. Does not look like it's deteriorated at all over winter, which is nice. Accessible still remains to be seen, but I'm going to give it a shot. I have not been in, so you're coming with, and just give you a look around at the site. Nothing's really changed. That is the IXH across the way here. The creek runs in between, which is at full bore right now. We've had a lot of rain. Been a pretty active thunder season. I wouldn't call it monsoon time yet, but sure must be getting close. I think you remember everything else from the hand stacked rock wall to the upper adit, the fourth level up here. We'll hit that in a little bit actually, because I want to pull some samples and I'm going to take the XRF in. But I promised to walk into the lower adit. I'm kind of excited to see what we find in here. If you remember from the video on last season, this one was fully tracked, leading me to believe it's fairly extensive. It's not your typical narrow gauge track either. It's a larger gauge, so they were using some pretty big ore carts. At least I assume that's what it is. You see weird things like this huge I-beam here, notched and welded. They must have had some kind of rail system, and they'd bring them out here and maybe, I don't know, maybe run them over to this tipple. That seems to be what they did, but then you've got those two classified piles of ore ready to go, so I'm not really sure what they did. I suspect we'll find that out as we dig deeper, but the start of the process, I guess, was pulling the ore from underground, and that's where we're heading now. Let's see what we can see. It's probably about 100 foot below the cliff face, so I'm always worried about rock falls, and I'm sure there's been a number of those over the years, but as far as I can tell, it looks pretty stable. I don't know, the only question mark or potentially dangerous question mark is air inside the mine, but I've got my detector on, and if we get some bad air, we'll turn around pretty quickly and get out. You'll hear it beeping if there's a problem. Now, it's a little sketchy. I'd call that 2.5 feet. And you've got these massive timbers. Gosh, gotta be 12 by 12. So a foot by a foot timbers. At one time, we're probably supporting a roof that was 8 feet above the ground, just at the manway to protect from all this, all these rocks and sloughage that have come down over the years. So obviously it's done a good job of that, but I'm afraid to use them for support, because you know, put a hand on them and push, and there comes a ton of rock. So I don't think there's going to be any easy way to do this, but just get on my bum and crawl in. So let me see. Yep, I'm gonna just be all on the it's working. Not pretty, but just scooch in through here. You always kind of want to make sure you can easily get back out. I see a little water. No snakes, no animals. That's a good sign. Coming in on the back. Again, you don't want to grab hold of any of this or kick out a timber with your foot. That'll be a disaster. We're in. Sorry, I'm just listening to make sure we don't have any wildlife. Oh, I still can't stand. I call it 84 feet. Opening up. Now I would call it 12 feet. Sorry. So I didn't go far. I'm just inside the entrance. That's where we came through. I'd say it was a 2.5 foot squeeze. And we opened up to, gosh, a huge chamber. I would call it 20 feet wide, 15, 18 feet tall, fully tracked. I don't know if you can see that down there. Narrow gauge, just a much bigger rail. So I don't know what they did. Maybe they cobbled together something from an old system at a past mine. Hard to say. There's a lot of standing water here. Does look like it's only a few inches, maybe 6 inches deep. It's covering the track, but that can be pretty deceptive. You take a couple of footsteps and all of a sudden it's 12 or 18 or God forbid even deeper if you're on top of a winds. But I think we can get around it without getting wet, which is a good thing because I don't have waders or boots with me. Yeah, this is what I wanted to see. I don't know if you can see right there. So if you remember in the upper portal, we had those incredible stringers, those thick veins. I'd call them an inch to several inches thick of what was native antimony, almost pure. And I was curious to see if that would continue through here, or more importantly, if we would see towards the inside. If you remember in the upper portal, we got into huge sections that were just solid antimony. And that looks to be like what I'm seeing here. So, I'm over the water, so I'm not going to be able to get a hammer in there. But if you look right there, there's your stringers, except that they're a foot, or it looks like they're a couple feet thick in here. And sure enough, you've got just that incredible looking material, dark, rich, antimony. Looks like graphite. And it does run the full width. Now there's a better, let me see if I can zoom you in. There's a better shot of a thin stringer. Okay, why can't we zoom? There we go. Sorry, bear with me. Trying to hold the flashlight and use the phone camera. So there's, you see some of those stringers. That one's only an inch thick. There's a couple of smaller, narrow veins below it. Look right here. So this is what I was hoping we would find. Let me zoom out. And that's basically the same thing we were seeing above, just way more of it and way better looking. So look at that, holy crap. Jeez, I don't even have to look far to try and grab some, and I will take some of this material. Looks like this is exactly what they were after. Some real narrow veins and then some of those thicker stringers, just really nice looking material. Sorry, eye on the prize. All right, let's get in here and see what we have. Holy cow. Jeez, they did some serious work in here. So this is tracked. It's going to be fairly extensive. I may be in trouble because of that water, which would be a real shame. I might not be able to get past here without getting wet. There was a lot of that material just on the ground, so I'll have full pockets when I leave. Let me see if I can get across without dunking a boot, because I've got a 2.5 mile hike out, and I do not want to do it with a soggy shoe. Okay. And you wouldn't be in a mine if there wasn't the old Coke can or beer can from the 50s or 70s, or can't tell, it's so calcified. So here's a nice shot. You can kind of see the matrix, the material that the antimony's in, and they've knocked a sheet of it down. And what you have here is that whole vein. I can see 6 to 8 inches in depth here. I'll bet you that's a foot plus thick, But that's a solid wall of antimony right there. Continues up through the ceiling. Yep, this whole thing is native. Ooh, what do we have? I see some ladders. Okay, let's see if we can do this without getting wet. Got no alarms on air, and I'd say the air is good. More of that just incredible material. It's so rich, it's almost blue. You see a black right here, and then you kind of come to a blue. It's got that, again, that graphite look. Really incredible looking antimony. Yep, getting dripped on. There's a good shot of the track. You can see that does run. Yeah, we've got something down here. Some stoping. They started to open up this pocket, this vug. I would say that's a solid. Let me see if I can get you in here. There's an old tie from the tracking system, but yeah, I see what they have here is they've found a vug. Sorry, just heard something. So they found a vug and they opened it up, and it's a pocket of solid antimony. So I'm guessing you're going to see this a lot. I don't know why they didn't take it all. You can just see the color. Yep, let's keep going. That's looking back the way we came. Now we're down to probably 8 foot in height from the almost 20 feet that we were at when we first came in. Stringers are continuing. They obviously followed the same vein. Look at that. I don't know if the light helps or hurts. If you can see that color. Let's get in here without tripping and falling. Okay, no more standing water. Now I'd say we're 10 foot wide, 8 foot tall, but it opens back up again in here. A lot of water dripping, not unusual. Interesting the way they cut this. There's another shot of the vein. They opened one up there. Maybe the light doesn't help. You can kind of see the roof is solid, or at least they're into a vein. I assume it's solid. You're about 2.5 feet up to there. So either those are stringers or that's solid. This is interesting. You've got a lot of work that went in here. Massive timbers. You know, I always get a little nervous when I see them laying on the ground. Was that brought in for future use and they never got to it, or did that fall down? Hard to say, but they clearly were working on a huge shaft here, a stope or a winds. I'm not sure what they have going. I'm looking at least 30 or 40 feet, maybe more. This ladder is in great shape. Now here you've got 25-inch thick tree trunks that have been rough cut. 6 of them here they've used to support this. So you've got pretty extensive workings up here. That's interesting. There's even more cribbing and timbering up there. So we may be looking at what was an attempt to punch through to the upper level. I'm going to say unsuccessful, just because I don't see that it ever came through, especially being up above and looking down, but maybe it did. Hard to say. Here's a better view. Yeah, that continues in. They might have just come in and gone to a different level. This might have just been a winds. They lowered down material and ran it out. What do we have here? Either looking at a past collapse or just material they knocked on the last blast and didn't pull out. But here's gosh, the end of the line. Could that be? I mean, we are no more than 75 to 100 feet in. All that track, all that material for 100 feet. Let me get up here. Nice close-up look on the vein. But let's see what we got. Almost looks like it does run a different, no, that's it. That's the end. Look at the color.